Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tarp Association Virtual Series 2021, the first of its kind for the Tarp Association. My name is Aaron Monson. I am the Education and Events Manager here at IFAI. So I'm going to turn it over to our panel very shortly, but first I want to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsors today. The Tarp Association Virtual Series is grateful for the support of Acadian Textiles, Aero Industries, Haytex USA, Miller Weldmaster, Plastic Fabric Solutions, and Value Vinyls, all who helped make this event possible. So like I said, just a brief introduction. I am going to invite our panelists and our panel moderator up to the stage right now. Our moderator today is Roger Romero. Our panelists are Rob Ennis, Brant Sharp, Frank Backerdan, and Otto Soto. All right, it'll just take me 1 second to get everyone here up on stage. Better make sure that I'm only introducing myself, not accidentally inviting everyone else up onto the stage. Roger, there you go. I think that's everybody. Okay, who's missing? Roger, let's get your video up on the screen. Okay, very good. Everyone is here. Roger, welcome, and thanks for helping to moderate the panel today. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you now.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Again, everybody, my name is Roger Romero. I am with Buckles International. I've been with Buckles for 20 years. I'm a salty dog. And today I will be facilitating this panel discussion. And before we get started, I'd like the panelists to just briefly tell us your name again, your company, and how long you've been with them, how long you've been in the industry. So I'll do this alphabetically. I'd like to start with Brant, then I'll go to Frank, then Otto, and then we'll finish up with Rob. So take it away, Brant.
Thanks, Roger. I'm Brant Sharp. I'm with Sharp's Tarps in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the vice president. I'm in the family, so I don't know how to say how long I've been in the industry, but been a long time. And I've been working solid in my position for the last 21 years.
You'd like to go ahead, sir?
This is Frank Backerdan. I represent Haytex USA. Haytex is a German company located in Brabscher, Germany. Our operations is located in Pulaski, Virginia for U.S. manufacturing. I run the commercial division for North America, where we produce products for the military all the way down to tent and tarp products on a global basis.
Hello, everybody. My name is Otto Soto. I work for a Mega Plastic Fabric Solution, a sister company of Megaplast. We're based out of the northern Mexico. I've been with the company for 26 years. I oversee the sales of raw goods and finished products in Latin America, US, and Canada.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Ennis. I'm the general manager of Acadian Industrial Textiles. I'm also one of the owners. Had this business for 10 years, been in textiles for 10 years, did some different things prior to that.
Okay, boys, let's get this started. As you feel, just answer the questions as I read them by, and then if we have any questions, we'll wait till the end of the topic and we can answer them as they come across the screen. So let's get the ball started, and we're going to talk about current challenges. So I'd like to ask the panel, How has your business changed as a result of COVID-19? So take it away, boys.
Well, if you guys don't mind, I'll jump in right now on this one. Since we have several different segments of the marketplace that we address with our products, what we saw with COVID 19 is a dramatic increase in our military products for the Department of Defense and the DLA group out of Philadelphia. So we saw an exponential growth occur in the last 12 months, and we see that to continue probably until the end of 2021. On the tarp side, tent side of the business, what we saw was a kind of a flattening out of the marketplace. We saw the market kind of stagnate a little bit because of certain closures and occurrences with certain states where a lot of our customer base was located, where they may have had orders in house but could not actually operate to fulfill those orders. Now, going into 2021, what we're seeing is a dramatic increase in the tarp and tent side of the business, and we're seeing incremental growth occurring. And I think that has a lot to do with a pent that has been in the marketplace, and that is causing other issues for us on the logistics side. I can address those later when we come to those type of questions, but we're seeing increases occur, and I'm talking double-digit increases in the tarp segment of our business going into the second and potentially into the third quarter. I'm not sure yet exactly what the fourth quarter looks like yet, but based on feedback from the customer base, we see this as a trend upwards all the way through the end of 2021 as the pent-up demand continues, and we think 2022 will flatten out a little bit.
Cool. Rob, Otto, Brant, guys have anything to add?
From a fabricator standpoint, our business probably changed the most because we got firsthand experience of how to recognize major change in the industry, as well as jumping to facilitate those changes, both in our manufacturing and in the ways that we're able to operate. We were operating, didn't miss a day in our facility. We have space to allow people to work social distancing, and we did get into some manufacturing of some PPE type products. However, that didn't last very long, and the demand following those, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks of a lot of questions back in March of 2020, March, April, things seemed to really pick up. And so our business, change wise, we learned how to be a little bit more nimble and make some changes in our processes and in our facility. We learned how to do things distancing where we can, and we also have seen a lot of changes in employment and in materials, which we'll cover a little bit later today. But it's been quite a learning experience for us this past year.
It was the same to us, Roger. To us, on the fabricator standpoint, like Brand was mentioning, we had to adjust and pretty much change all the products that we were making just to keep ourselves busy and start building a different products that to help us become a essential part of business for our department in Mexico. And on the roll good manufacturing, we pretty much lost most of our products in Central and South America because those countries were closed from March into pretty much the end of September. So luckily, the way that we adjusted in the US market helped us stay busy throughout the year round. And coming this 2020, experienced tremendously growth. I mean, it's been our biggest challenge right now is to keep up filling all the orders that are coming in. A lot of our customers that they were buying from overseas, they're starting to turn into our company, being closer to the U.S. market. So it's been an excellent first quarter. Hopefully it'll stay the same.
From our perspective, and we're a supplier a little bit like High-Techs, but not the same scope. It's been a business last year was pretty good. In that regard, it wasn't down. It really wasn't up a whole lot. It was relatively flat, but I think given everyone's experience, we were glad just to have what we had. And I think the biggest issues that we've had really have started coming up now, frankly, or in the last beginning of this year, and it relates to supply chain. And we'll be talking about that a little later, but we bring in, we source product from both domestic U.S. mills as well as mills in Europe and Asia. And I think everyone knows Asia was kind of the epicenter for sourcing PPE for the United States. And surprisingly, that was not an issue for us early on or most of last year, but this year it's really come to a head. And in fact, most of the supply chain aspects are really coming to a head this year. And I think we'll talk about that more. But for us, our business was generally pretty good. So we were fortunate.
Great, guys. I think this leads us naturally into what are some of the current business challenges that we're facing today. And if you could, can you tell us how it kind of compares to what we did last year as well, too?
Well, since I started off the first question, I'll go ahead and start off that second question, Roger. It's a challenge. To go to what Rob was saying, we are a global manufacturer. We've got manufacturing here in U.S. operations in Virginia. We've got Germany, 2 manufacturing facilities there. We've got manufacturing in China. And right now, what we're seeing and what we're struggling with is the raw material price increases and really availability. It is driving the pricing structure and costs dramatically. We're seeing suppliers coming in probably on a monthly basis with incremental price increases. And we're not talking huge price increases here on raw material, but when one supplier comes in every month for the past 3 months with 2%, 3%, 4%, all of a sudden you're at an 6 to 11% price increase on raw materials. It dramatically impacts your cost structure. And right now, with what's going on in the market, it's incredibly difficult to pass on these price increases to the end customers. They may be contractually obligated with what they're currently doing with their end customers. So you have to be very cautious in the way you approach the market with price increases. Then the other part of this is the logistics struggle. And I'm sure Rob, who is sourcing, globally as well, is struggling with it. We are. What we're seeing out of Asia specifically is we're seeing brokers that are coming in and buying up space on vessels and then reselling that space back out into the marketplace at premium price points. A great example would be a container 5 months ago was probably about $4,000, $3,800 for a 40-foot container. Today, at premium prices for a 40-foot container, can easily run you $9,500 to $12,000. It's almost as if on a monthly basis, the vessel companies are utilizing a bidding process. Even though you may have a booking on a vessel, if you booked it at a premium rate of $9,500, but somebody comes in and bumps you because they're willing to pay $12,000 for that space, well, guess what? Your booking gets canceled and you got to wait for the next run. And it could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. and in some cases 4 weeks before you get another vessel assignment, which causes havoc through the supply chain, because not only don't you have the inventory to manage your order rates that you've got from your customers, but you don't have inventory on the floor to be able to do what we call book and ship orders. So you can't support the commodity products that you may have inventory levels that you need to adjust on a monthly basis. So it is a very arduous task right now with the logistics issues that we are all facing. Uh, and I think even the fabricators would agree, but I'll let them speak for themselves on what's going on with the trucking industry as well as the rail industry domestically here in the US. What we're seeing on our end is even if a vessel hits New York, New Jersey, it may take me 3 to 4 weeks to go from New York, New Jersey to Minneapolis or to Chicago or to Milwaukee, because the rail systems are so bogged down and so congested that it takes quite a long time to get the container into the customer's hands. On top of that, what we're also seeing is some of our customers have requested air freight. Well, that's no better. What we're seeing is 2 to 4 weeks in air freighting goods in. We could probably bring in $20,000 to $25,000, but that could end up costing the customer $30,000 for air freighting something, but that's going to take you 4 weeks to get executed. So there is a little bit of give and take, and it's, on our end, it's communication. That's been the key for us, is making sure that the customer base fully understands what's going on a global scale with the demand and the lack of vessels and containers that are in the pipeline. I'll let somebody else address that as well.
To us, Roger, on the roll good manufacturing, it's been happening the same that with Frank. We buy most of the raw materials overseas, and that's going to be our biggest challenge, is just to keep the PVC, the polyester fabric, the plasticizers. We have also experienced the same amount of a price increasing on the containers. Luckily, we were happy to land the deal with one of the freight carriers, and we have guaranteed our space. They're our main suppliers. They used to deliver the product here in the Americas. Now they tell us if you want it, you can get it here in our company, and you just handle the freight and whatever logistics. And on the fabricated end, we have changed a lot on the transportation industry. We have seen a lot of the price increases on freight from California to the East Coast. And one of our jobs is to land our product at the most convenient price to the end users. So it has definitely been a very big challenge to us compared to last year, when all the vendors used to be knocking on our doors, begging us to buy their raw materials. And now we just have to be the ones going there and trying to keep enough supply so we can supply our own customers.
Let me just chime in, because I pretty much echo what everyone is saying. We source, and our products are mostly all polypropylene and polyethylene, so it's just different versions of plastic, and it's a serious situation right now. Just to echo what Frank said, I mean, anything is brought in offshore, especially from Asia, is the container cost is just like it might have been $3,800, a year ago, and now it's gone to $8, 9, 10, 12, $14,000. I mean, it changes weekly, and so there's the whole expense side or cost side increasing, which is a challenge, because then what do? How much of that do you pass through? How much do you absorb? And we certainly can't absorb it all. The second aspect is our deliveries are not predictable now. And we've always prided ourselves on being transparent in the sense of telling our customers this is when we'll have it, and making commitments and keeping those commitments. And we also like to, under promise and over deliver. And it's just exceedingly difficult right now to do any of that. We know a container is supposed to be out of the mill on day one and get on a ship and leave, a week, 2 weeks after that, get here 3 weeks later. So you're talking, 5 to 8 weeks or so, and you could add a little bit of a fudge factor there and be comfortable with what you were telling your customers. That's out the window now. I mean, everything is much longer. Our mills are slower a little bit, but I don't think they can get trucks in their home countries. You get reservations on a ship. The reservations aren't honored. You get bumped. From the side you're supposed to be on. And a lot of, just like Frank said too, that there's higher value items coming out of different markets, and they're willing to pay premium. TVs and electronics, them paying $10,000 on a container, it just gets absorbed across however many units they've got. And if these units are hundreds of thousands of dollars each, and you've got several hundred units on there, it's almost in the noise for them. And that's not true when you're bringing in products like collectively all of us use, whether it's whatever, there's just not 40-50% margin on these things that you can just absorb all this cost increases, and it's a real challenge.
From a fabricator standpoint, it's interesting to hear some of the challenges that our suppliers are going through, and can appreciate those. As we, thankfully, our challenge, even since last year, has not been sales or revenue. That's been a huge blessing to us, but production times, workforce has been a challenge. Throughout COVID, we did have delays due to our workforce being, members of the workforce being quarantined because they were exposed or maybe even contracted COVID. We luckily didn't have a rash of it go through our facility, but people were exposed through other family members and things like that. And it seemed like we kind of just began to have a longer backlog due to that, trying to keep our workforce healthy and at work. So currently we face a lot of employment challenges. The economy in the West, in Utah, is strong, and so with unemployment and the benefits that have been paid out that way, it makes it a challenge for us to hire, because a lot of times that sweet spot for the money that people are gaining staying on the unemployed list is just below or near where we need to pay to be able to be competitive, especially as we're receiving material cost increases and things like that. So even getting people to come in for employment interviews and things has been a little bit of a challenge. Material availability, as you have heard from these gentlemen, and the freight transit times to get their product to us has drastically increased, and it's just something we can't count on now. So that's a challenge every day for us. We're almost dealing with LTL companies on a daily basis trying to find our freight. And a lot of times we find ourselves even going to the dock and doing dock pickups, because it might be 3 or 4 days between the time a local company can get a driver out to us. Cost increases has been a big thing. Fabrics and vinyls, hardware and notions, metal, steel and aluminum have had huge increases. And so just trying to keep on top of that, it's happening so fast that we, trying to hold quotes and hold pricing has been a challenge, as well as just getting those cost and price increases out to our salespeople so that we don't find ourselves making mistakes when we're bidding jobs. I guess one last challenge would be just forecasting, trying to understand exactly where the economy is and where it's going. There are just so many unknown variables. And so we find ourselves, constantly, we're very busy right now, and we look to the future and say, if it stayed this way on this trajectory, how do we manage it? And if things with all of the construction material and other cost increases continue to rise, is that going to slow things down? And so we're we're engaged in constantly trying to find different ways to navigate those waters.
If I can make one last point, because I want to address what Rob said, because I want to reiterate it. It's kind of important for everyone that's a part of this virtual conference to really understand what this impact is doing to the industry. To go to what Rob was saying, I would say 5 months ago, 6 months ago, we could easily project when we placed orders with our facilities in China between 5 to 8 weeks by the time a container would hit our warehouse in Dublin, Virginia. And then, of course, we would then disseminate that out to purchase orders that our customers had placed with us. What we're seeing today is the fluctuation in this vessel assignments and getting containers into these vessels and out the ports in Shanghai, Nudang, is we're seeing stretching of about 16 to 18 weeks. That is dramatic, guys. And I want everybody to fully understand that's a part of this virtual conference, what that really means as an impact. That means that the customer base, not only the customers that we have, everybody has here, but we have to forecast correctly because we're looking at 3, 4 months, 5 months before a product will hit the door. And that is a lot different than a month and a half to 2 months. So now we have to stretch out what the anticipated orders are going to be and what you anticipate as one of our customers or one of our panelist customers, what your needs are going to be. We're guessing here in some cases because we're looking at historical data, and historical data today is not relevant as it was 2 years ago. So we have to rely on our customers to be as accurate as possible when they give us that information that we can get this product into the United States to be able to disseminate it across all of the customers. It's a challenge, guys. It truly is a challenge. I've been in textiles for 35 years. I've never seen this in the history of textiles. The only time that I remember something very similar to this was probably in the early 90s, late 80s, when China came in and bought up the wool market in Australia, and there was no wool in the marketplace, and everybody was scrambling and prices were going out of control. So this is unprecedented. And we're doing a lot of guesswork here to be able to support the customer base. So I just want to make sure that that's really communicated to everybody that's a part of this virtual conference.
Thank you, Frank. It definitely is a challenge out there. And I want to thank Brent too, because this next question kind of dovetails with what you were speaking about, and that's employees and retainment of employees and training. And I'd like to open it up to you guys right now as to, how are you getting people to, come in for interviews? How are you training them? How are you keeping your current employees? So I'd like to open that question up to you guys right now.
I think you should jump in first on this one.
I'm not sure of the challenges that some of the suppliers are having with it. We certainly have, and one of the steps that we took some years ago to avert this problem was to integrate technology into our operation, and we continue to do so. I know we're going to talk probably a little bit more about technology down the road, but that goes hand in hand with employment as far as I'm concerned. It takes maybe some basic jobs or some unskilled labor jobs that are hard to fill, and with increased capacity and increased ability from one person with a little bit higher skills gives them a job that they're more interested in doing. And so we've seen the job quality of the different positions that we have go up because of that. Recently, I saw an advertisement from McDonald's that offered $50 for anyone just when you came to an interview. And I can only understand that would be a really challenging market, but we find the same thing. And so I would actually love to hear, either through Q&A, through chat, or through discussion subsequent to this this presentation, would love to just chat with people. But the unemployment situation, it's hard for me to hear on the radio how high the unemployment numbers are, yet we can't get anybody to come in to apply. So we get them from time to time. As far as retention, we're right around about an average of 10 years here on retention. And so we've done that through company activities, through competitive pay, and through automation, which allows the employees to have a little bit more of an upscale job for our industry. We not only manufacture tarps and things for the transportation, trucking, construction, agriculture, but we also are a marine fabricator and an awning fabricator. And so we through the use of technology and automation, we've increased our abilities in all of those areas. Right now, I'd love to hear more tactics from others on employee recruitment.
Jump in on my end and tell you a little bit about what we're experiencing, and I'll reference Virginia. We are in a very small town in Pulaski, Virginia, so we have a captive audience. I would say we have about 75 employees as of right now on the factory floor in this facility. And the average length of time for individuals in this facility is about 15 years. I think the longest term individual we have is at 33 years currently. So we have a captive audience. We have a very dedicated workforce. So we're not experiencing some of the things that may be going on in other communities and other economies around the U.S. So I can't really address some of the problems that Brant or Otto or Rob may be experiencing in the marketplace in getting employees in. So we're very fortunate in what's going on with our facility, and I'm talking specifically the Virginia location.
Well, I'll chime in. I don't have a lot to add. We're a very small company, but highly leveraged, in the sense of virtual. Our warehouse is outsourced. But I know that our warehouse is having issues keeping trained folks on staff because there's turnover there. We can't directly address that, but we do suffer consequences from it because they don't have the people necessarily. For within our company itself, we try to pay like Brant, competitive wages, competitive benefits. Like to keep our employees happy. And so I think we tend to be probably on the premium side. We do have compensation that's tied to revenue. So if we do well, they get more money. And I've always been a big fan of that. It's more or less share the wealth a little bit. So but as far as hiring people, we've been flat, and I've been, over the last few years trying to find, a person or two. But that's been very specialized and really haven't had a lot of luck finding anyone. But then again, I've been fairly patient with it. And given the situation we're all in now, it's not something I'm going to spend a lot of time doing unless I absolutely have to. And I don't right now. So we're fortunate in that regard. So that's my 2 cents. I'll turn it over to Otto or anyone else wants to chime in.
To us, it's always been a challenge to keep people being at the border where there's a lot of assembly plants, especially on the summertime. Most people would like to go and work on an air conditioning environment instead of working out just on our metal buildings that we have. So we implemented we gave him some type of medical insurance, and we give him all types of different benefits to try to keep him with us. But I mean, the turnaround, we hire 20 people who showed up, and the next day there's only 10 of them coming back to work because they got another job in a different location. But there's has always been a challenge. I've been with this company for 26 years, and every summer is the same.
Thank you, boys. I'd like to kind of like switch gears here a little bit and talk about advancements in the industry and what type of equipment technology has your company are implementing and which ones have been the most successful. Anybody?
We've implemented automated cutting and plotting, which seems to have made the biggest impact. We have a static table, a large static table that we cut on. And we have also purchased a conveyor cutting table to be able to give us some more throughput in the cutting. Also, it's just a slightly different animal. But from cutting to welding, RF welding, with an automated, a traveling head RF welder, those are some of the things that have really helped us to increase output, a little bit better job for the employees doing the work. 20 years ago and even less than that, most of our guys, our smartest guys, were out on the floor marking and cutting and crawling around with scissors and tape measures and things like that. And those guys are sitting at computers now, and they love their job, and they see it as a big benefit to them with the type of job that they have. And so with an RF welder, we have an automated traveling head welder that went from a lot of times a two-person job. Many times we can make that a one-person job. And so some of those things have really helped us out.
Well, on our end, because we're not a production environment, it's a little bit different. But what we have done, and it's been a process for the whole time, for the last 10 years, is just try to use database tools or spreadsheet tools instead of manual for understanding history and analyzing data. We don't have huge amounts of data like maybe a really large company, but we still got enough data from a historical point of view to use as much of that as we can just for planning purposes. And to go back to what Frank was talking about earlier, we're making best guesses, typically based on the data, but then with wet finger in the air of like, where we are now relative to the situation, do I want to adjust those numbers up or down or whatever, based on the situation we're in. And that's just an educated guess. But so we're using as many tools, software-oriented tools as we can.
I agree with Rob. He's kind of hit the nail on the head here. The key is data, data, data. You got to say it 3 times over and over again, because if you don't understand the data, you don't understand what you need to do in preparation today, tomorrow, and 3 months from now. So we do a tremendous amount of data mining through our operations globally. We are on an SAP system, so we have the luxury to be able to really dive deep on understanding not only where the customers were 5 years ago, where they were at 3 years ago, where they're at today, and potentially where they might go down the road based on conferences that you have with them. one of the key aspects that we've looked at, and I'm not going to talk manufacturing now because I'm going to talk more on the sales side. Because of COVID, we all have had to change the way we operate and run our daily businesses. One of the things that we have changed, and I would say in the last 12 months, is virtual meetings. What we're doing here today. I would say in the last 30 days, I've probably had 20 Microsoft Teams calls with customers in video conferencing. That's the norm today. 12 months ago, it was, hey, what's my next flight to Chicago, or when am I heading to Texas, and trying to book a hotel and trying to figure out, rental cars. We're not doing that today, and it does make our job a little bit easier, but we do miss that face-to-face interaction with the customer base. Will it ever come back? I don't think it will come back to the way it was a year and a half ago, but it will come back. Maybe 50% of that travel will occur. It just depends. But right now we're using technology in our day-to-day activities to communicate with customers, be it WhatsApp to regular text messaging to Teams, Microsoft Teams conference calls. It's just the way things have evolved. And I remember 25 years ago when I was a young guy, not that I'm not a young guy still, but when I was a young guy coming into the marketplace, it was telex. It wasn't really emails. Today, emails are the norm. It's what we do every single day. I wake up, I got 20-some emails from China, 20-some emails from Germany, and then, of course, you've got customer emails flowing in all day long. So it's the norm today. And what I think is going to happen is what we're seeing, what we're doing on this virtual conference is going to be the norm for the future. It's just going to be a part of the industry. No way of getting around it. The other part that I wanted to mention in manufacturing, because of what we're seeing in an influx of our customers and the issues that we're seeing out of China, we have already executed a capital expenditure in our facility in Pulaski, Virginia. We're going to be putting in new machinery and new technology that will go online. We're thinking April of 2022. High-speed laminator coming in line, coating machines. We're spending money domestically rather than spending money in Asia. And the reason for that is we're seeing a shift from our customers not really wanting to wait 16, 18 weeks for deliveries, but willing to pay a premium price to get USA made goods. So we're seeing that in the marketplace starting to occur. Will it be at a tremendous level? No, it probably won't be, but it'll be enough to run those machines at a good pace. People are still going to gravitate to the lowest commodity item. And when we're talking commercial items coming out of China versus domestic production, we're talking about usually about a 50 to 75% pricing difference. So it's significant, and customers have to be committed to it.
Because of the tremendous demand that we have been experiencing, we're doing something similar than what Frank has been doing. We're invested right now in newer textile looms. We're looking into acquiring a new coating line because we just can't keep up with the capacity that we have. And we're seeing that most customers that they were buying overseas, they're starting to look into plastic fabrics and Megaplast as their answer for their products. So we already got some new equipment last year, and we're looking into invested some more this coming year. So we can provide our customers with the products that they need.
Thank you, guys. That was interesting. I this next question is probably going to be more for Otto and for Brant. And Rob and Frank, you guys can chime in if you would like. But the question is do you guys see there a trend towards more manual systems than there, and if so, what are some of the reasons for it, and what do you guys see happening to the flatbed tarps?
We don't do hardly any manual systems, Roger. We mostly do lumber and steel tarps, mainly the standard flatbed. So sorry, but I don't have much to say about it. Maybe Brand, they do a lot of more of the systems. We definitely have seen a huge demand on the just flatbeds and steel tarps, lumber and steel tarps. Because of the goods coming from overseas, like Frank was saying, they used to take 8 weeks to get here. Now I got customers, they tell me they've been waiting for containers for 5 months. So now they're willing to pay a higher price. I feel bad when I tell them that my lead time will be 4 weeks. And they said, hey, we're used to dealing with 16 weeks or 8 weeks. So we're just happy with what we have right now.
I think we've seen over the past decade and a half, 2 decades, a huge trend to automatic tarping systems. We hardly install any manual tarps when it comes to construction. And I think, you see a lot of flatbed. I don't know how many flatbed like Otto, steel tarps and lumber tarp fabricators there are here, but there sure are a lot of, full coverage systems over the tarp, such as the Aero Conestoga or Chameleon, and some of those that are common, but we also there are flaws in those as well. So I think the trend is there. I think that drives the change to the way we fabricate and the products that we fabricate. Replacements, installation, repairs certainly go into account there, but in general, yeah, we see that happening. When you say what are some of the reasons, well, I think probably trucking company insurance is a big reason. Drivers climbing up on trailers, getting on loads. I think it takes one truck driver to fall and get hurt. Probably costs the company a lot more than putting automated systems on entire fleets of trucks and trailers. So just in dealing with customers in general, the population of drivers is getting older. There aren't too many young people wanting to get into that profession. And so with them getting older and having a harder time throwing lumber tarps and steel tarps around, there's quite a few different changes coming. And I think innovation is the key. And some of these companies that are driving that are seeing a lot of success doing that. But flatbed lumber and steel tarps are still going to exist for a long time.
Well, the last topic for discussion, guys, for you guys, and it's more or less going to probably be towards Brant and for Otto. And again, Frank, Rob, if you guys want to chime in, you're more than welcome to. But this is in regards to tarp repair. It says, what are some of the more common tarp repairs in the industry? And how do you guys convince your customer that a new tarp is better than a repair, or vice versa, a repair is better than a new tarp?
Because of our facility being in Mexico, Roger, we don't do any Tarp repairs. Basically, our customer database is people like Brand that we sell our goods and they sell to the end user. But I think one of the topics will be, it all depends on how bad the tarp will be. Because a lot of times you can get a tarp for X amount of money and the repair will be just as much. So I think it just depends on the driver, whether if he wants, I've seen some drivers that those tarps they're useless and they still want them to repair it. And sometimes they even spend more money. I've seen my customer trying to sell them a new tarp and they still want the old one repaired, even though they're going to pay more money for it.
I don't know if I want to convince somebody to get a new tarp over a repair. Actually, sometimes there's more money in repairing tarps. We have a tarp repair department. It's dirty work. It's hard work. But our customers appreciate it. One of the things that we have done is turn the tarp business into a service oriented business. And so we do have our own trucks that pick up and deliver in our geographical area of business, and as well as a lot of over the road customers that come into us. But we do a lot of tarp repair. Our general rule is if the tarp repair is going to cost more than 50% of the new tarp, we would contact the customer and give them that option. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. A lot of that's based on the projected life of the material. But repairs happen both hardware and on the fabric, on flatbed covering, full coverage systems, as well as the manual tarps, such as the lumber and steel tarps like Otto was talking about earlier. But we haven't necessarily seen any kind of a higher trend in repair. That's stayed pretty mainstream, even despite the challenges of COVID and other things. So.
Guys, before I hand it back over to Aaron, was there anything that you guys make a last, comment that you'd like to drive home before we close out today's discussion? Okay, with that being said, that's it for our discussion, guys. And Aaron, did you want to close it out, or am I going to close it out?
You're muted, Aaron.
Thought I clicked that. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I can definitely take us out. I want to say thank you to each of you for this really insightful panel. It was really informative and interesting to hear all the different perspectives. Roger, of course, I appreciate you for moderating today. Our next session begins at 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. So we have about 25-ish minutes to head back to your tables, have some smaller conversations, take a break, whatever you need to do. I also want to let everyone know that we have a sponsor giveaway courtesy of High-Techs, which we will draw at the end of the next session, or I should say we should announce at the end of the next session. It's random, and we already drew the winner, so we already know who it is. But please stay tuned until the very end, and we'll announce that giveaway. Other than that, as I said, thank you to our panelists today. Thank you to Roger for moderating. We'll get you back to your tables and look to start the next session in about 20 minutes. All right. Thanks, everyone.